Today on the God Rock Show, we're catching up with Hannah Kerr. Now, you've got an amazing start to your career. You were plucked and picked up by a guy that had a record label who'd already had a massive career himself. Tell us about the start for you.
Yeah, so I had first met Mark Miller, who is the producer of Casting Crowns, and he was friends with my dad. They had met at some prayer meeting, and he came and heard me lead worship at church and asked me after the service if I'd ever considered doing music. And I at first said no. I mean, I've never thought of myself as an artist. I've always loved to sing, but just never thought I could do it for a career. And he said, well, let's go in the studio and just record some stuff just to see what happens. Do you have any songs that you've written, any songs you love? And Warrior, my song Warrior, was the first song that I ever recorded.
Wow.
And so we recorded some songs, and he showed them to Mark Hall from Casting Crowns. And Mark called me and he said, you know, if you want to have a ministry, if you want to do Christian music, I will champion you. I believe what you're saying and I love your songs and I see so much in you. And after that phone call, I felt like I was ready. I was like, okay, it's been confirmed by two people that I really respect. And I also felt like God was confirming it in my own heart, that he was giving me something to say and a way to say it. And so I was 17, I was really young and had no idea what I was doing or really who I was yet. But I just took that leap of faith and I started making music and released my first album at 19, went to college all that time. I started college at 18, went for 4 years, met my husband in college, graduated, and here I am now on the other side of school.
When you've got someone as impressive as him championing you, and he's been there and done it before and had massive hits, what do you learn through that? What did you learn from other bands?
So much. And Casting Crowns actually took me on one of my first tours back in 2016. And I just watched them. I felt like I was trying to be a sponge, just soak up everything that I could see, everything I could learn. And Mark is the most humble, genuine person that I've ever met. And I watched him how we would walk into these big venues. Sometimes we were playing arenas and Red Rocks and all these crazy places. He was never taken by any of the glitz and the glamour. He walked in, he would say hello to the security guards, shake their hand, ask them their story. He would talk to the people helping with catering, the volunteers for merchandise. I mean, he would talk to everybody and there was no sense of I'm a Christian artist and I'm cool. He was just so humble and such a servant-hearted person. And that was my first experience with someone like that who had been one of my favorite artists growing up. I was a huge Casting Crowns fan. They were my first concert I ever went to. Yeah. And so to see him be such a servant and to see him lead a team so well, that's when I really knew, okay, I want to do this. I want to be part of this.
Was it your brother that first invited you up on stage that really helped kickstart this for you, your brother Josh?
So my brother Michael, I have two brothers.
Right.
Josh is the oldest, Michael is the middle brother, and he led worship at our church growing up. My parents were the worship leaders. Michael did the student band. And so Michael invited me to be on the worship team when I was in 8th grade. And so that's kind of how I got started singing in front of people. Well, then my oldest brother Josh is also a songwriter, and he's written God Only Knows by For King and Country and all these country songs, and he's incredible. And so we've worked together a lot too over my career. He's produced some of my songs and he's written some of my songs with me, and it's cool. It's a family affair, it's just a whole family thing.
Is it true that at some point in the career you wanted to give it away? At some point that singing just wasn't enough and you thought about stopping, is that right?
Yeah, so when I was in college, I was really struggling a lot with stress and I was dealing with anxiety for the first time in my life. I had so much going on. I was trying to do a singing career and also trying to get A's in class. I'm a super perfectionist. And so I was trying to do my very best in two different things, and I really considered stopping when I was in college. I just thought, maybe I heard God wrong, maybe I wasn't supposed to do this, maybe I should just focus on school. And so I took a semester off of school to tour, see what that was like. I took a semester off of touring to just do school. I kind of tried both things. And I found that when I had taken a semester off of touring, I really missed it. And even though I really enjoyed being in school, I thought, I really feel like I'm not doing what I'm supposed to do. I feel like I'm supposed to be in school, but I'm missing this other part of my calling. And so I continued to do both all the way until I graduated. And it was really hard. It was hard on my body. It was hard on my mind. It was a really stressful season, but I learned so much. And I feel like in that process, I learned not just what I want to say as an artist, not just what I want to say in my songs, but I learned so much more about who God says I am. And that my worth doesn't come from being a college student or from being a Christian artist or from singing songs like Warrior. My worth comes from the Lord, and He's the only one that directs my steps. And so I just graduated and had no idea what I was going to do. Just said, God, if you want me to keep doing music, give me opportunity. If you don't, give me opportunity to do something else. And sure enough, I graduated and I got a tour offer to go on tour with Jordan Feliz. And so I did, and then COVID hit, so that's a whole different story. But I've just been trusting God every step of the way, and even when I feel my heart filled with doubts in myself or insecurities creep in, or I feel stressed or I feel like I can't keep going, God sustains me, and He keeps giving me opportunities, so I just keep going.
Would you unpack for us some of those tough times, like a moment you
Yeah.
remember where you go, wow, this is just too hard?
Yeah. There was one time when I was a junior in college and I was having a lot of health issues. I was just feeling so bad. I couldn't eat anything. I was just not sleeping at night, really bad insomnia. And I was so just run down and sick and tired. And it was those nights where I would literally be awake from midnight to 6 a.m. I mean, I was just awake all night. And I felt like I really had those moments with just the Holy Spirit. Like it was just me and Him. And I would listen to worship songs and I would just be there in literally the darkest nights and just be there with God. And it is true that the Lord is close to the brokenhearted. And I felt brokenhearted. I didn't really have something to be brokenhearted over, just my body was hurting. And honestly, I needed a miracle. I needed Him to heal me, and I didn't know what to do. The doctors were like, we've run all your tests and everything's come back normal, so you should be fine. And I'm like, I don't feel fine. But anyways, God did heal me. He healed my body gradually over time. I started to feel more like myself. I started to sleep again. I started to have peace again. And it was that time that I wrote so many songs. It was that time that I had all this creativity and inspiration to just tell other people, like, okay, growing up, I had a really sweet, beautiful life. My parents are amazing. I'd never been through something really hard, honestly. But that time, it was my lowest, and I had been through a really hard time, and God was still good. And I could stand up and say, listen, I've been through this thing now, and I know He's real. I've experienced Him. In my darkest nights, He was right there next to me.
Talk to me about the impact of your songs like Warrior. You must have had some amazing feedback from fans that it's changed their life and gotten them out of deep holes.
Yeah, that's what's so crazy is I think I sing songs first for myself, songs that I need to hear, songs that I write for myself. And then it's amazing because God takes those songs and He shares them with other people, and it impacts their darkest moments too, moments that I couldn't even anticipate. And that's how it was for the song Warrior. The song Warrior for me has always been an anthem against that anxiety and that fear that I've faced. But it's been an anthem for people that have walked through cancer, people that are training for the military, people on a workout plan, single moms trying to make it through a day with really difficult circumstances. It's been amazing to see how God's used that song. And one story that sticks out to me is there was this little girl, her name is Sydney, and she was 7 years old and she had been diagnosed with cancer. And Warrior was her favorite song. I mean, she said that when she was driving to chemo with her mom, they would just jam out to Warrior in the car. And I got to meet her. She came to Nashville, and I got to sing Warrior just to her. Just me, my guitar, my brother, and her. And it was so, so sweet just to be able to look her in the eyes and sing her fight song for her. And she ended up passing away a few months after I met her. And it was so hard for me to know that she was gone. But that song was played at her funeral, and her mom said that it was just her #1 song. And so for me, that is why I do this. I do this to impact a life, even if it was a 7-year life, even if it was just a child, like it changed her in ways that I can't take credit for that. You know, she heard it on the radio. Yeah. And so I'm just really grateful for stories like that remind me of my why, of why I am an artist, why I sing songs, why I share them, for that reason. And God is so good to remind me of those stories over and over again in my life.
And so bizarre how your song can reach people in so many different seasons in their life that you may have never even experienced that sort of hardship, and that's when the song touches them.
It's just crazy. It's crazy how God uses songs for people of all ages in all places in the world. I mean, I get messages from people in Brazil, people in the UK. I think my top city in the world of people that listen to me is in the Philippines. Like, it's just crazy how God uses songs that I wrote in Nashville, Tennessee, and brings them all over the world for so many different purposes than I could even know.
How would you encourage people watching today in their faith journey, wherever they're at right now?
Yeah. I think I would say to everyone watching this that God is with you in whatever season you're in right now. If you're feeling like you've just been knocked down, if you're feeling like you're in a low season, it's going to pass, because it always does. It always gets better. God always brings beauty from ashes. I've seen it over and over in my life that God redeems all things. Even things that we think are not redeemable in the moment, he does. Some way, somehow, God brings beauty out of ashes, out of our circumstances. He weaves it all together in a way that we can't even see, for when we look back at our lives and we see that God has done little miracles all along. So keep going, just keep your head up, keep fighting the battles in front of you, and God is going to give you the strength that you need to get through.